Hey everyone, in this video I'll show you how we can fix a small collision glitch that we're getting in our GameMaker Pong game. So essentially what we're getting is what I call the super bounce, and that's when the ball hits the corner of the paddle and it basically speeds out of the paddle or launches itself across the screen. It looks kind of like this. So what's happening when this glitch happens is our ball is actually colliding with our paddle on the corner right here. Our code for collision says that when the ball and the paddle collide, we need to invert its x speed or multiply its x speed by -1. And so the x speed starts off by moving to the right, and then what happens is we multiply it by -1 and our x speed is going towards the left. But when the ball collides on the corner like that, the x speed isn't big enough for the ball to escape the paddle. It's still touching the paddle. And so the next frame of the game registers that the ball and the paddle are still colliding, and then it inverts that x speed again and it goes back into the ball. And then the next frame, it inverts it again, and we get this ball that's vibrating or zigzagging inside of the paddle. The whole time that it's doing this, it's increasing our x speed by 5%, and eventually our x speed gets big enough that in the next frame, the ball just launches itself out of the paddle at a really high speed. And that's just not real fair in our game, and it's just not really true to the original Pong. So let's talk about a quick fix that we can use to fix this. We're going to use a Boolean, which is either true or false, to control how many times this ball is allowed to collide with the paddle so that we don't get consecutive frames of collision. So to do this, what we want to do is we want to go to our OBJ ball, and we want to go to our events for that, and we want to go to our create event, and we want to create a Boolean variable. So I'm just going to call this one P collision like this for paddle collision. I'm going to make that equal to false. Remember, Booleans can either be true or false. They can't be anything else. So I've made a Boolean. I've made it equal to false. GameMaker says you've only used this once, and that's not a big deal. I'm going to go to my collision with the right paddle. That's the paddle that I control in the game. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use an if statement right above this x speed code. This is the code that makes the ball bounce off the paddle. I want to write an if statement above that. I want to say if P collision is false. So first, notice that I have two equal signs there. That means check to see if it's false. It's not making the Boolean false. It's checking to make sure that the Boolean is false. Once it does this, it will only make the ball change speed if the Boolean is false. After we do that, we want to make sure that the ball doesn't collide or change speed again. So what we're going to do is we're going to write P collision equals true. So the ball will collide here. It'll change its speed once, and then after that, P collision is true, so it won't change its speed again. This game wouldn't be real fun if we left it this way, because you'd only be allowed to hit the ball once with your paddle. So we need to find a way to make P collision equal false again. So after we make P collision equal true, let's set an alarm. So I'm going to use alarm 0. And this needs to be a small number of frames. So after so many frames, we want to set P collision back to false. So let's use 10 frames for right now. You might need to adjust this as you play your game to a smaller number. So after 10 frames, the alarm will count down and the alarm will be over. We need to add an event for that. So let's go to add event, alarm 0. And when that alarm 0 is over, let's make our P collision back equal to false. So essentially what we've done here is we've created, in the create event, we've created a Boolean called P collision. We've made it false. When we hit something, we are only going to change its speed if the Boolean is false. So this will change its speed. Once we hit the paddle, we made P collision equal to true, and we've set an alarm to 10 frames. Once our alarm goes off in the alarm event, we make P collision false again, so that next time the ball comes back, we can actually hit the ball with our paddle. This is something that you're going to want to do in probably both paddles. The alarm doesn't have to be alarm 0. It could be alarm 1, 2, or 3. But they're both going to have their own Boolean, and they're both going to have code like this. So let's kind of see what the end result is. So to check to see if this works, I'm going to try and hit the ball with the corner of the paddle and see if I can get that super bounce to happen. It shouldn't work. And you can see that I hit the ball with the end of the paddle and it only bounced once. So that's how we can fix that super bounce glitch in our Pong games.